Stakeholders are calling on governments at all levels around the world to take the lead in education. This was the aim of the head of delegations and chairs of committees, including the accredited ambassadors of the International Human Rights Commission, the Relief Fund in special consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations, when they converged at the maiden edition of the NG Educators and International Human Rights Commission Model United Nations Conference in Enugu over the weekend. They stressed the need to overcome urban-rural education gaps and also improve access to quality education for rural populations through increased investment in and the full use of modern technology. We're now being joined by the Director of the General Global IHRC Relief Trust Fund, Dr. Tivluman Ahure, to discuss the outcomes of the International Model UN Conference held in Enugu and the gains for education in Africa and globally. Welcome to Newsday. Thank you for being here this afternoon. If you can hear me,
thank you.
Yes. The just concluded one-week conference, the maiden NG Educators International Human Rights Commission conference happened in Enugu. It was the maiden edition. So I'd like to ask why Enugu State, and if you can also give us a summary as to what the conference was about.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, the International Human Rights Commission Relief Trust Fund in special consultative status with the United Nations ECOSOC had this opportunity to hold a conference in Enugu. And the conference was basically initiated in the mode of modeling the UN General Assembly and the UN Security Council and other organs of the UN. Yes, the choice of Enugu had to do with the central theme of the conference, which was on the development of education in developing countries. Being so, in our own anticipation to actually have the conference in areas where, or in a destination where it will be it will be seen as having done something to bring out the consciousness of the need to develop education. We penciled down destinations that have been working assiduously to change the fortunes of education. And after assessment and evaluation, Enugu State was tops on the list. And so we came down to Enugu State to hold this conference after duly informing the executive governor that we carried out a rating, and Enugu State, of all the destinations in the global southern countries, we found Enugu State worthy of being pronounced as a destination that is doing well in terms of developing education in these poor countries of the world, in the regions of the world where education deserves better attention, and he's giving good attention. So we gave him kudos and came down here. Now, what Model United Nations Conference pertains is the concept of training delegates who are naturally students in secondary schools. We decided on SS senior secondary school students, and we also looked at the university students. There was a ratio of 22 secondary school students and 3 university students coming from each state of the country and the Federal Capital Territory, including other foreign delegations that joined. And we came close to having 2,000 delegates who represented the different countries to simulate the United Nations at that level, with the central background and theme of the development of education in developing countries.
All right. Can we discuss the outcome of this Enugu Declaration?
maybe give us some of the highlights of the declaration itself.
Oh, yes. A declaration was reached. I won't be able to, at this time, think I can rehearse it off heart, but a declaration was reached. It was tagged the Enugu Declaration. It's a platform of action, actually, because putting together the three documents that were arrived at during the, following the resolutions that we had debated upon. We reached these three important documents, and it has been reported as the Enugu Declaration. It's basically a document calling on world leadership to give education the attention it deserves. It's a document that breaks down the various ills that are holding education down in the developing world. Countries regarded as third world countries need to actually show that they believe that education is a human right. Education is the area that if a government throws its principal focus on developmental strides on, we're going to have a gradual movement from being the developing world into a developed part of the world too. And so the document, the declaration, looked at the need for technological advancement, the need for experiential learning, given the background of what's happening in Enugu State, where the governor has put in so much, and the concept of smart green schools being discussed on the streets based on the fact that he's developing the smart green schools and using them as a model for others to copy, and we really want the world to copy. So we came up with an Enugu Declaration calling on the entire developing nations to take a cue from what Enugu State is doing, a serious commitment to education, the standard and the quality of educational delivery to the student, especially the concept that goes into skills acquisition, while we have the normal school thing that we do.
All right, then. But you called on world governments to close the urban-rural education gap. You also advocated for technical, technological, and vocational education. In addition, the declaration canvassed investment in these modern technologies and remote education. So I want to find out from you why these things are so imperative to the work that you're doing.
As we know, the world changes and leaves those behind who refuse to change. So the current situation today with civilization is that even education too has dynamics, and there's need to bring in megatronics, artificial intelligence, concepts such as robotics into our curriculum today, because the world is moving to a time where maybe even teachers, the requirement to have classroom teachers will be dispensed off with, but then if classroom teachers have to always be there, so these classroom teachers too need to actually develop, need to actually be trained and retrained, and they have to pass through that experiential teaching so that they will be able to also impact that knowledge to the students. The call for investment in education, well, for how long are we going to continue? Countries will remain so grounded with issues of out-of-school children and issues of lip service when they say free education, but it's not free education. We looked at all this, and we called for these things in that document, which we want the world leadership to give serious attention to, and we are actually putting them in strategic. I mean, the document now, the Enugu Declaration, is strategic places, so that that attention required to be given to it will be obtained.
All right, and let's talk about Enugu State as the actual venue for this maiden edition of the conference. Why Enugu State? I mean, why Enugu?
Well, you see, it will be more of blowing the trumpet for Enugu State, but we want to state only facts here. The fact is that Enugu, you take the budget, for instance, the budget for 2024, for instance, they're committing 33% of the budget, way beyond UNESCO's recommendation for, attention of, domestic or national government to give to education. That's even double the percentage. We see Enugu as a place where the government is completely focused on education, and it should be applauded and should be a reference point. A lot of countries that came to participate, and even including state commissioners of education that were part of the Model United, the NG Educators International Model United Nations that held in Enugu, all agreed with this. We agreed with the facts, and the documents that we had, which I call the assessment before we selected Enugu as a host destination, it's a clear signs that Enugu State is pioneering, is leading. Enugu State is providing leadership, and is setting itself properly as a destination where there won't be poverty, there won't be all of the stories we hear about vices in the society any longer, because its population, its children, its people will not have to suffer based on a lack of quality education or lack of access to such.
All right then, Mr. Ahuri. We are aware that the heads of delegations and chairs of committees visited Smart School in Owo, being one of the 260 smart schools initiated by the current government in Enugu State. What's your impression about the 33% budgetary allocation for the education sector within Enugu, in the Enugu 2024 budget, and how does it compare to what happens elsewhere? Are these are these recommended to other nations or no?
Oh yes, take Nigeria into consideration. We have 36 states, and if the 36 states go into same thing that Enugu State is doing budget-wise, as far as education is concerned, and there's a commitment to ensuring that the budget is so properly implemented, and there are no issues around the entire educational sector. I do not think Nigeria will be counted backward in the next 10 years, projecting like that, if it's going to be done at that level. I also see same thing happening in all the African countries or countries of the Global South, across Asia, Latin America, Oceania, and the Caribbeans, and all countries that found themselves within the ambit and orbit of being poor nations. There's a commitment to so have the budgets of our countries, both national government and domestic government, concentrated on education, concentrated on the need to ensure quality learning, and bringing the population, the populace, the entire citizenry into being educated citizens. Then the world will be good for it. Beginning from Nigeria will be good for it, Africa will be good for it, every other region will be good for it, the world generally will be good for it, will be better for it.
Well, Dr. Tivlumun Ahura, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon here on Newsgate.